the impending release of Masterpiece Cheetor, I thought it was an appropriate time to look back at the previous attempt to update the young Maximal into the modern toy lines. Oh, and this time, it might actually look like a real cheetah! Wonders never cease! Well, that came out in Universe 2, in this deluxe class Cheetor, and definitely did get the cheetah part much closer than the original. Cast almost entirely in yellow plastic, and it's a nice shade too. It's not irritating or anything. It's a little bit more natural in color, though the spotting is pretty thin. Cheetahs are pretty well covered, and this is pretty sparse, but hey, it does get the point across at least. The more important thing is, it is very long, very lanky, very svelte. He does look like an actual cheetah. He's got the proportions where they need to be. This is a drastic improvement. And you remember the original cheetah toy? It didn't look much like a cheetah. It had the color, had the spots, certainly, but it also had these massive feet, which are actually bigger than the new Cheetor's head. That's not very cheetah-like. So this was okay for the 90s, but definitely needed an update. Boy, what an update. This is a very nice looking beast mode. You do see a few gaps here and there because this is a very scrawny beast. There's bound to be a few bits of robot left over. Even the Masterpiece one isn't avoiding that, but is a very notable improvement. As far as deco goes, aside from just your standard spots everywhere, you do have some lighter fur where on the actual cheetah it would be a little bit thinner, which is a nice little touch. And then, of course, you do have all the paint on the face. Now, the face on this thing is interesting. Now, all the lines and everything that you would expect on Cheetor is there, but you're probably wondering why you can only see one of his eyes right now. And then if I turn this way, there's the other eye, and the other one disappears. It's because they're all sunken back in for the main feature of this toy. This is back when we actually still had the budget to put gimmicks in the deluxe figures. See that little tab sticking out of his spine? If I pull back on that, the mouth not only opens up, but the eyes change to red. And this is twofold. I mean, not only is it a fairly well-functioning mouth-opening gimmick with the teeth working and everything, it just does work. It also references the original Cheetor's toy, which had multiple different releases with different eye colors on each one. So it's a kind of interesting idea. I kind of like that it just goes like demon red when he starts biting down on things. So the green eyes are a little bit sunken in. It's worse on camera when the lighting is giving it shade, but for the most part, definitely works better. Or definitely works anyway, at least in this mode. We'll see. We'll get there. So the tail goes up and down. You get plenty of leg articulation, swivels, and bends in all the right spots. That's not a pun. I swear to God, that's not a pun. You have full range motion here, even outward. It's hinged just right. There's actually some pretty clever engineering in here to make sure there's a hinge right where there needs to be, given the transformation of the toy. So he does have the ability to splay his legs out and then actually get some more natural poses going on, even though his head, because of the gimmick, is completely restricted. And then, yeah, you've also got bends here as well as bends here, so he does have a lot more range going on. Hey, original Cheetor, what can you do? Oh, right. Nothing. Big improvement. So that's a really nice beast mode. Proportions are good, details good, great articulation for a beast. So we do need to get this guy into robot mode and see what we're in for, because guess what? This thing is a frequent request on Plastic Addict. You're going to find out why. I'm going to start by straightening out the legs and folding these like so. We're going to pretend like they're actual feet later on. Give it a minute, we'll get there. Now, this toy has a pretty interesting transformation. It's very not the original Cheetor, even though we are attempting it. So with that cleared out of the way, we can fold these up to the right position. You can find these little slots inside those panels where the tabs on the sides of the neck attach on. So with that out of the way, we can go ahead and fold all of this out to reveal some more robot details and start getting his proportions where they need to be. Clicking that in, these the kind of the beginnings of how we have panels that form, like fold and turn inside out to create three-dimensional detail, kind of starting here, giving Cheetor a lot of his core body. Roll that down and out of the way, and the tail itself can come off, and we will need that for later. Pelvis piece goes into place like so. Arms themselves are a little bit strange. We fold up the beast legs behind it, and yeah, don't worry. We will talk about that. And then let's get this head flipped up and into position like so, in order to get Cheetor into his full and upright robot mode. Now remember how those beast proportions were just so good on the beast mode? Remember how those proportions were so good? We've kind of gone off the rails here. So the result of having a super thin cheetah is a super thin Cheetor. It looks like his animation model has been vertically stretched out a little bit. Remember in like did you ever play the N64 Beast Wars Transmetal game where Black Arachnia was technically a playable character, but all they did was squash Tarantulas' model down to kind of look thin like her? It's about the same thing going on here. It's about the exact same trick. This is bizarrely proportioned and riddled with problems. For starters, let's get a look at his head. And we're going to notice right off the bat, his head is a little bit more feline than it should be. You can see he's got the upper lip and the jawline that an actual cat would have. It's almost as if they had one time thought this head was actually going to be used for Tigatron someday. But no, this is just a really bizarre looking Cheetor. It either looks like Cheetor that's far more cat detailed, or like Cheetor with a great big like detective mustache. It's one or the other. Either does not look that good. The colors are decent at least, but man, that's just, it's a weird sculpting choice. And speaking of weird sculpting choice, look at this thing. Oh my god, look at all this kibble hanging off the arms. We got hunks of cheetah flesh hanging off of his legs, and oh my god. Do you wonder why he's a plastic addict request? Yeah, this is the cost of gimmicks. Remember, gimmicks are evil because they, more often than not, cause sacrifices just for the sake of doing a cute little trick. Was that worth this huge hunk of backpack in these weird proportions? I don't know if it was or not. I'm probably going to say it was not. Pretty sure there was some other way they could have done that. Just had the same gimmick and not done all this. Oh, well. Let's see what we got going on here. At the very least, we've got a lot of new color to talk about here. The Cobalt Blue with this nice metallic sheen to it is showing through a lot more. He does feature less robot details than the original Deluxe Cheetor does, particularly the legs that basically maintain their cheetah look. They're just very scrawny. He doesn't even get his robot mode feet. We just kind of fold up the legs and pretend that they're feet. Now, where the details are the same, I mean, they do an attempt to retain them. That creepy Revenge of the Fallen wheelie face is still in his groin. Of course, you can't forget that part of Cheetor. It's such a signature element of his design. And the colors, for the most part, are in the right places. But man, there's so much weirdness going on to the shape of this thing. At least he's got a maximal sigil, so he at least has that going for him. He doesn't have a rub sign like the original toy or anything. Now, this toy gets by on, well, the articulation in beast mode. And the articulation in robot mode didn't go as well. You do have rotation in the head. You can see the panel is attached to the head itself. So if you hate having panels behind his head, you're stuck with it at every angle. And there's no fold down at this point. That's as far as it goes. Let's talk about the lower section, where the waist does not rotate. Ugh, hate that. Good range in the thigh, at least, so he does have full range there. The thigh swivel is just above the knee, and the knee itself gets a 90-degree bend. Got plenty of give and range here, thanks to the hinges from Cheetah Mode. So he's not too bad, but for a very svelte and fast character, a little bit more thought to where the articulation went, especially with the lack of a waist joint would be nice. Then there's the arms. You do get a ball joint in the shoulder, which is okay, and then you get a swivel, which is fine. Let's talk about that elbow. Let's see that elbow, ladies and gentlemen. What happened here? So the elbow can bend to 90 degrees and then can get straightened out to about 45 degrees, maybe a little bit beyond. So you don't have a whole lot of range of motion in that shoulder. And then you've got this massive shell of beast leg on him that hits everything when you try to straighten his arm out. Getting his arm perfectly straight is impossible. You're always going to have some kind of bend to it, and you're always going to run into some kind of problem with this big shell. It's very difficult to have his arms down at his sides and look natural. They've always got to be at this inward, like he's flexing his pecs look. It's not good. It's not Cheetor. It throws off the entire look of the toy. This just massive chunks of kibble and very, very strangely proportioned and articulated. But hey, he has a whiptail. You know, just like the original Cheetor had. You know, not like his Transmetal one had the whiptail. But hey, it's a thing to do. Oh well. Also, if you wanted a little bit more weaponry, no, he doesn't get his gut gun. He doesn't get his tail gun. He gets little discs that fold out into shurikens. He gets animated prows. Why does he get animated prows weapons? They're even stored on his legs the same way. Why? Why? Why is this thing a Cheetor? Why can Cheetor do this thing? Why is this a thing Cheetor can do? I am confuzzled by this. So yeah, they just hide in the calves. Yeah, I don't know why they felt he needed ninja stars. I mean, because Cheetor's always been such a ninja character. I mean, I guess it kind of goes with the speed theme, but at the same time, you know, it's not like you ever saw the Flash throwing shurikens at anybody, you know? I mean, I guess you can get him into some decent poses, but good lord, he's got so many little things wrong with how his robot mode looks. It really does throw the toy off from something that could have been really, really good to whatever this thing is. So that is Universe 2 Cheetor. Is it Plastic Addict bad? The robot? Oh yeah. Like, there's a lot of issue going on there. Lots of sacrifice made for the sake of a silly little unnecessary gimmick, unnecessary stars, a complete lack of his original weaponry, and some strange proportions and design choices. What does save him is the fact that the Cheetah Mode, which is easily the worst part of his original toy, is so good. Just as a little toy cheetah, it is fantastic. And I will credit them with coming up with at least a somewhat more dynamic transformation than the original figure, so he doesn't just feel like the same thing done with new proportions. It does feel like a new toy. Whether or not he's a better toy is up to you, but this thing was so much promise and so much letdown.